Right, so let's take this texture and we'll make it work a little bit harder for us. So first thing we can do is add a little bit of control for the image. So what I do practically always every time I import a texture, I create a multiply node. So click M and I'll plug that in. And then if you press S while you click on the background here, you'll create a parameter that will be modifiable in the material instance. So I call this brightness. If it comes into, so I call this brightness. And then another one which I've experimented with is the power. So no, it's the power node. So if we do a search in here and drag this power node here, and then this is what is going to change to give us our control over the contrast of the image. So I'll press S again and create another parameter and plug that in, and I will call that HDRI. For some reason it doesn't. HDRI contrast. So that's going to give us a good deal of control over our image. Now, if you wanted to rotate this image, you could do it via, you could rotate the sphere, but it's a little bit clumsy, as you can see. It's sort of like this way or this, and it doesn't really rotate even because it's not attached to the UVs. So it's very easy to do that in the material, on the other hand. So let's create a new node called rotate about world axis. So let's create a node called rotate about axis, this one, and we can so the way we're going to do it is that we want to rotate only the Z position. So for that we create a vector 3 node. So I just press 3 on the keyboard and plug that in here, and we want to obviously, so this looks like a color, but in fact it's a set of 3 figures, so a vector, and we want to give this the coordinate 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. And so next we are going to give ourselves another parameter, which is going to be the rotation. So let's call it cube map rotation, and we can plug that in here. Pivot point, we are just going to pivot point, we're just going to create a constant. So I press 1 on my keyboard and leave that at 0. And then for the position, we are going to plug our absolute word position back in here. So now what we need to do is plug this back into here. So in order to do that, we need to do an add. So we'll add the position, the new position on top of the existing position, and then we have to normalize the vector input. So we'll put that in there and select it through and plug it back through into the texture. So this is really great because we've just completely done this within the material. It shows you how powerful Unreal Engine is. So that's gone all black because I forgot to put in my default parameters here to be 1 and 1. So it's effectively calculating the texture to be 0, which is black. Okay, so now if we save that, that looks great. And then I'm just going to create a material instance here and apply that to our sky dome. And so now if I click on this, I can control the brightness. So put that back to 1. I can control the contrast. So that makes our sun wherever it is. And then here we go, just change the rotation. So that contrast tends to have a strong effect on the sun brightness and so on. So it gives us a little bit more contrast over our HDR. And then I can put these back to where they were with that little yellow arrow. Okay, so now let's carry on onto our material and apply a rotation. So we are going to take this cube member rotation, and what we want to do is add a variable that is going to change with time. So we'll take time with speed variable. So the speed, that is going to be a parameter that we will want to change. So I'll put my default value here of 1 and then call it speed. And I can plug that in. I can put a divide here to divided by 100 to make that value sort of 0.001 kind of thing. So it gives us easier to work with. And then let's plug that in. So we need to add the existing rotation with the current rotation, and that is going to give us our rotation. So let's save this. So if we wanted to, say, get this to rotate the other way, I could multiply this by -1 here at this stage. So let's try that. And so we have it rotating the other way. So now we have in our instance, we've got this speed. So we can half the speed and make it very slow. Something a bit more realistic. So obviously we'd probably want to hide the trees from rotating if we use this HDR in a scene, or so it gives us a bit more of an illusion of something animated out there. There you go. So that's how to do a rotating background.